This is Let's Talk Business with your host, Marc Ebinger. Now, here's Marc.
Welcome to Let's Talk Business, a show that highlights and promotes entrepreneurs to learn more about their vision, goals, and marketing strategy. Coming up on the show today, we're going to talk about business and technology in the real estate world. In studio with us today is Aden Stiles, a realtor at Phyllis Browning and a CPA. Aden, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. Excited that you're here. I'm your host, Marc Ebinger, the owner of Krukus Virtual Staffing, where we save business owners thousands of dollars in labor costs by hiring skilled English-speaking virtual assistants from the Philippines and Latin America.
I'm Kyan Frith, co-host of the podcast, and I'm also the CEO of KV Impact Consulting, where we provide boutique professional services, including bookkeeping, CFO services, and business coaching.
And I'm Howie Nestel, the owner of Sharkmatic Advertising, a cool ad agency serious about big results. Graphic design, web design, and search engine optimization. What can we do for you? And a quick reminder to make sure you follow the Let's Talk Business podcast on all social media platforms. You can also go watch the video shows on YouTube. And if you can't get to them, like you weren't able to get to them, you might go to satalkradio.com, and we have links to everything there.
All in one spot. All right, I want to give a quick shout out to Gina Estrada over at Flash Financial and Travis Ward over at Team Car Care here in San Antonio. I'm excited to connect with you guys on LinkedIn and look forward to doing some networking with you guys. If they haven't already, I'm sure they'll get an invite. I've got a whole thing set up on LinkedIn now where it's once we get connected, you can get invited to all kind of stuff. It's kind of cool. It's not just here, buy my stuff, which happens a lot on LinkedIn. This is more of a, hey, let's connect. And how can I help your business? And how can I help you network?
And are we inviting them to the Let's Talk Business podcast mega mixer?
So it's already will have passed by the time this goes. Yeah, no, I'm such in the habit of talking about the mixer that because there's so much cool stuff. I'm super excited about Thursday. But yeah, by the time this gets there, it'll already be over. But we'll talk about the results next. Well, actually, we're taking a 2-week hiatus from the podcast over the next couple of weeks. Brooke's going to be out of town doing her thing, and we needed a little time off.
How about some predictions? How many people do you think will attend the Let's Talk Business podcast?
What's the over-under?
Yeah, it's
right.
Well, hold on.
Not
Let me
betting.
ask.
What's the spread?
Yeah, what's
the
the
spread?
So
185.
185.
Oh, nice.
All right, you're a little bit of a disadvantage because you were not there at the first one. But what would be your number between 125 and 225?
I'll go with 150.
150. That's our target. Mark, what's your number?
Yeah, I'm going to say 175.
Okay, I'm going to say 180, just so that we can beat.
I'm going to go 181, Bob.
There we go. What was the last bid?
Last time we had 179 people, right? We did $1,790 donated to a charity because we charge $10 to get in, and then we donate all that money to a nonprofit. So I'm going to say we're going to donate a cool $1,800.
Okay, awesome. But it's great. We started off talking about numbers, and now today, obviously on this show, we've got 2 accountants. So this is just like amazing.
It's 2 on 1.
Man, it's just incredible, isn't it? And both looking sharp.
Looking sharp. One English speaker and then one British. So we have.
Thank you so
Hopefully
much.
the translation
when Mark said English speaking administrative assistants from overseas, the first thing I thought of was Kyan.
Yeah, not with an English accent, but that would be cool though, wouldn't it?
Hey, that would be a differentiator.
It would.
for Krukus hiring. You can hire assistants with British accents. Because who doesn't like a sexy voice to answer your phone calls for you and make your appointments?
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
And if this coaching CPA thing doesn't work out, maybe you can go work for Mark.
Start charging people to leave voicemails.
I'm more than happy to assist, you know.
There you go.
Anyway, gentlemen, thank you very much for that. That's really appreciated. Look, Aden, it's great to have a CPA on the show today, even if you describe yourself as a recovering CPA.
It's been a while.
Give us some background on who is Aden?
So I grew up in San Antonio and went to Baylor, graduated in 2009, and knew that I wanted to have some sort of a more, at the time at least, more of a safe, consistent job and paycheck. And so I opted for the CPA route. I did auditing for a while with Grant Thornton and then transitioned into financial diligence for mergers and acquisitions in the oil and gas industry. And I had 2 back-to-back 90-hour work weeks that were just brutal. And as a CPA, you bill hours just like a lawyer does. And so I was able to pull my hourly rate for the trailing 12 months and calculate that I was making McDonald's money manager, killing myself, hating my life, and all these things. So I basically just kind of ripped up roots, went back home and said, I got to find something better, and kind of fell into real estate. And it's been a wild, successful ride ever since. I was the San Antonio Board of Realtors Rookie of the Year in my first 8 months. I had 43 transactions in 8 months, and the previous record holder had 26 transactions in 12 months. So I've averaged over $1 million a month in closings since I started, which not many people can say they do.
No, and that is hard to do. Yeah. I know that.
Are you going to get right into that? Because I want to know why.
Yeah. Well, I was going to go into that, but I was curious if there was anything in your accounting background that kind of helped drive some of that.
Oh, tons. I mean, especially when you're talking with investors and stuff like that. It's wild how even seasoned realtors don't even know how to calculate a cap rate when looking at an investment property, or just a basic numbers when trying to help an investor, or look at hey, what's going to be the cost to flip this house, and all these things. So that adds a lot of bona fides that a lot of realtors don't have.
So a question though, because we've had the discussion before where you said that you kind of regret going down the whole college route and that money being spent on it. I don't know if it's maybe still the same kind of view, but if you hadn't become a CPA, do you think you would have been as successful as you are as a realtor? Because it's equipped you with some skills that maybe others do not have.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly has helped. At the end of the day, it would, you learn about just business in general, and understanding how just a general contract works is something that a lot of realtors don't have if they've never been in business and things like that. So it certainly is good to have that understanding from the CPA professional world.
But why?
But at the end,
why does that matter? What's the advantage?
Because understanding just a transaction, a lot of times, and just a contract, and a lot of times people don't understand, hey, what's binding when you sign a contract? I mean, this is a legally binding document. And explaining that and being able to coach your clients through, okay, here's how this contract works. Here's the pitfalls. Here's where we can get out. There's a lot of intricacies to a real estate transaction that a lot of people don't, and most people don't understand.
How does that lead to more business for you? Because obviously you're getting a lot of clients, so you're doing something right. Everybody's going to say
there's got to be something else there, right?
Yeah,
salesmanship. Your parents,
magic.
Your parents are super well known here in San Antonio, and they all want to do business with you.
Yeah, no, the absolute driver of my business, the having the CPA and the business background is kind of the icing on the cake. The real driver of my business is follow up, is connecting with people, showing them that I actually care. I've been a long-time proponent of, if you focus on the client and protect the client, you're going to get taken care of. And it's when you don't put your client first that things are going to go south for you.
So do you think that there's realtors that they're saying we care for our clients? They say that they're putting their interests first. Are you doubting that?
Oh, all the time. I mean, I know multiple lawsuits right now going on against realtors where they have taken advantage of their clients in one way, shape, or another.
So I'm still missing a disconnect on why you did so well.
Right.
Was it just all hustle and flow? What is it?
So it started out I almost shockingly stubbed my toe on a golden nugget in the first almost month that I started. I got a call from realtor.com, and I have to assume they thought I was somebody else or some other realtor. They accidentally dialed me. And they asked if I wanted to be or have exclusive rights to be the one agent in all of Bexar County getting every seller lead that Realtor.com had.
Sounds like a scam to me.
And I thought it was.
Yeah.
I thought it was, but I did it and I paid for it. And so like I said, in my first 8 months, I had 43 transactions, which is just unheard of. And it was because I had this exclusive deal with realtor.com at the time. It's long since gone. But that catapulted my database, my resume, and showed people right away that I knew what I was doing because I was getting deals done. People were coming back to me. People started referring me business. I got a call last night from one of those clients, and he referred me the 5th customer that he's ever sent me since I've known him.
Wow.
And so by treating people well, you start rolling. It's like any referral business. If you treat people right, you're going to get more business from them. And being able to follow up on that business and follow up with leads and show people that you care is very important. And I'll give you a perfect example. I met a developer over a year ago who was going to do and is now doing a big townhome development in Lavaca, just south of downtown across the 281 from the Alamo Dome. And I followed up with him for over a year. Hey, how's it going? Checking in because I knew he was going to need a realtor. And at the end of the day, I won the business and I'm the exclusive listing agent for 50 townhomes right now. And he said that the one thing that impressed him the most was my follow-up, is that I wasn't going to let a lead, I wasn't going to let this go away. I was going to take it to the mat one way or the other. And he said that was
But we've talked about follow-up on this podcast before. And a lot of people like to think they're pretty good at follow-up, but until they meet somebody who's really good at follow-up, they realize they suck at follow-up.
Indeed.
And it's
common.
ridiculous important.
Yeah.
And so, like, one of the ways I deal with follow-up is through my virtual assistant staff, my team. It's like, hey, these are the areas of responsibility. And then, of course, my wife watches everything, and she's really tenacious about all that. I'm not as good at follow-up. So recognizing a weakness and then compensating for that weakness can make a huge difference in your business.
totally.
What about you? You got any weaknesses out there you're compensating
Oh,
for?
I'm sure.
It's a CPA.
Tell me the biggest one.
God,
Well, it's not follow-up, it sounds like. It sounds like you're good on follow-up.
Yeah, typically
But
not
that's
follow-up.
a tough game, right? I mean, it's very... Follow-up can be social media. It can be phone calls, texts, emails,
Exactly.
personal letters.
Exactly. I mean, there's always more I could be doing. I could be writing more letters. I could be doing more social media posts. I could, there's always, there's only 24 hours in a day, as they say, but
How are you in networking and going out to events in person, pressing the flesh with real life? human
quite
beings?
frankly, I haven't done that as much lately. I'm trying to get it going here again. That's how I met Kyan.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's been just staying on top of clients, following up with them. Hey, wishing happy birthdays, and just having routine touch points.
Well, let's get into technology and real estate. So, what are some of the technology changes happening in the real estate industry right now that have got your attention?
Well, I mean, all sorts of stuff. As far as within photography, what's been wild is that you can now just take your cell phone and scan a home and get the floor plan. And it's incredibly accurate and very nice. And Zillow is using this a lot to their advantage with some of their new products that they're trying to sell to listing agents. What I don't yet understand is how they are data mining that, because if you're putting your your exact floor plan out there, I don't know, somebody's going to start data mining it somehow. I'm not sure how, but that is something that it's becoming much more prevalent, and I don't think people fully appreciate or understand what the implications of having all that out there are.
And speaking of Zillow and those companies and technology, can you explain a little bit about how those work? I mean, I know traditionally the real estate agents put a home or list it on MLS, and they might post on social media that they have a new home that's listed. But how are these players like Redfin and Zillow and these guys coming in, and how do they interface with agents?
So it's a great question, and it's changing drastically as we speak. So when I put a listing up on the MLS, Zillow, realtor.com, Redfin, all these people, they just scrape the data from MLS and put it on their website. And so if you go on to, for example, Zillow.com, and look at any property. It doesn't matter if it's for sale or not for sale. It'll have the Zestimate and all these things. It'll display 3 realtors on there. And those realtors pay to be there.
Oh, I see.
And so you say, hey, I like this house. I want to take a look at it. Well, one of those 3 realtors gets your phone number and gives you a call. Hey, Mark, I want to see this. Or hey, Mark, I see you want to see this house. What time works for you?
And that's not necessarily the listing agent.
It is not. It is specifically not the listing agent.
Ooh, that seems really shady,
sharp.
but I kind of like it.
So,
That's sexy.
but that's how Zillow does most. That's the majority of their revenue is charging realtors to be on listings in certain zip codes.
That sounds brilliant to me.
Oh, it's a genius way.
Wow.
Now, what's changing, and Zillow just rolled this out, is with the whole NAR settlement that we haven't even discussed yet. But in order to show, one of the things that's going to now be a requirement is that in order for me, a realtor, to show you a house, we have to have a buyer representation agreement signed. I can't just go show you a house.
What?
That's part of the deal. And so that's why after the NAR settlement, Zillow and all these other stocks just tanked, because people are starting to think, well, how is an unsuspecting or just an uneducated buyer that clicks on Zillow to go see a home, they're not going to want to sign a buyer representation agreement with some guy that they don't know. And that's going to hurt Zillow's business.
But that's going to take it back to the personal relationship business.
Correct. But so what Zillow has just announced, I think last week, is they're somehow automating it. Again, I don't know the full extent of this and how it's going to work, but they're going to sign up buyers with a 7-day buyer representation agreement so that they can then go see homes with a realtor.
Versus an exclusive one for a longer period of time.
Correct.
So this just to go see this house.
Correct.
Gosh, I love that. That business model sounds really interesting to me.
Yeah. I mean, it was wild. Back in the COVID days, I mean, I was making tons of money off of it.
Yeah.
But, as the market shifts.
I would have my little button on all of those properties that were, 500 plus. I'd be like, call Mark.
Right.
That's how you play this game, right? I like that way of playing it. So this NAR thing, what is it? I think most people kind of understand it, but give us a short run through of what it is, and then let's take it from there.
So the big mind-blowing thing, if you want to call it, is that MLS is no longer going to show what the buyer commission is. That's it. There's different parts of it about having to have a buyer representation agreement to go show a house and stuff like that. But when you boil it down, the big earth-shattering thing is that it's not going to show what the buyer representation or what the buyer commission is.
But it's still going to get paid.
Maybe.
You're supposed to be able to now negotiate. You're actually obligated.
Commissions
to
have always been negotiable. That's the thing. I don't.
Most people just accept that it's the 6%. You split it right 3 and
Correct.
3.
Correct. But commissions have always been negotiable, and so the thought is that somehow this is going to, make them more negotiable. I guess if you want to put it that way. It hasn't gone into effect, and they've already kicked the can down the road to August at this point. So we don't really know how it's going to manifest itself in the market and what, how the market's really going to react at this point. I think the main thing for a lot of the newer agents is that it's going to become more difficult to do business or to get business, especially with buyers, because they're going to have much more stringent, or they're going to have to convince this buyer to sign a buyer representation agreement with a brand new rookie agent that doesn't really know what they're doing, and then have this discussion about like, well, hey, if the seller isn't offering a commission, then you're going to have to pay it and all these things. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of the thought as to why there's going to be a mass exodus from the real estate population.
But that's a lot of opportunity because it will work itself out.
Oh, of course it will.
I mean, because the buyer agents, you could argue they work the hardest anyway because they're the ones running everybody around to see all the different houses and all that. They may not be paying for staging or whatever happens, that you see on TV, but that's going to be very interesting to see how that works out because it'll be like, I'll help you buy a house, but you're going to have to pay me $7,000 or $10,000 or whatever it's going to be in order for us to move forward on this.
Right.
Yeah, but if you go back to the days of travel agents, and I think Southwest Airlines was one of the ones that initiated not paying commissions to travel agents. Once you start having a boutique travel agent where the buyer, has to pay a fee for the convenience of having somebody do it, the market starts to talk and say, well, people don't really want to pay that. Even though the value might be there, they rather just go and buy a house from Zillow.com. And there might be a seller agent that's assigned to it, but without a buyer. I don't see that unless it's worked into the deal that people are going to want to pay 3% of a, $300,000 house, $9,000 to somebody to help them find and buy the house.
Again, I don't know. Anybody that says they know how this is going to play out is lying to you. I mean, no one knows. But I think at the end of the day,
yeah. But we like to make predictions, on
right?
the show.
Yeah, what would you do?
I don't think it's going to have any significant impact on my business, because if you want to sell your house, look at this point right now, prices are typically reflective and values are typically reflective of a 6% commission. Hey, you want me to pull comps on your house? Let's look at it. Okay, well, these homes all sold that are similar, and they all paid 6% commissions on them.
So it's worked in.
It's already baked into the value, and so trying to then back that out and have the buyer and make it more difficult for the buyer to buy your house, I think is kind of a fool's errand to selling your house for top dollar.
What would you do? What would be your remedy
For what?
for this NAR thing? How would you now set it up for the buyer's agent? Would you like to just keep it the same, or would you make changes? And if you would, what would that be?
Well, I don't really understand who the victim was, and no one's been really able to articulate what the victim was, because again,
The lawyers were the victims.
Yeah,
They
we
wanted
always
their money.
blame it on the lawyers.
I mean, because at the end of the day, everything is negotiable. No one forced anybody to accept any commission, and so to say, oh well, these realtors have colluded to price fix. There's 15,000 realtors in San Antonio. I guarantee you, somebody out there who is struggling for business is going to, reduce their commission. Now they might not know what they're doing, and you might not get a very good deal on your house, but somebody out there is willing to negotiate. So, I don't think I'm not sure why we needed to fix or change or have the settlement in the first place.
No, somebody just grabbed the steering wheel and pulled it into the wall. That's what happened.
Correct.
Just so they could make some money.
Correct.
I think that's what happened.
You've touched on something there. 15,000 realtors in San Antonio. You were rookie of the year, rookie within 8 months. You've done really well. You got the smile on your face. You probably know what's coming now. We've had a bit of an interesting conversation, haven't we, about realtors in San Antonio.
Yes.
If you were sitting on the Sabor board, what changes would you make within the realty profession in San Antonio, and why? Or are you happy with the way it is?
Well, no.
That's a slightly different response to what you gave me the other day.
I'm being a little bit more tame.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I don't think there's any mystery about it. For the most part, realtors have somewhat of a dodgy reputation, if you will, because there's so few barriers to entry, and anybody can go get a real estate license if they just pass the test and a couple $1,000. I'll never forget one of my favorite stories is that when I was taking the course and the classes to get licensed, there's very little math on the exam, but one thing they tell you is that you have to remember that there's 43,560 square feet in an acre. You got to know that. I'm like, okay, got it. And then when you're taking the exam, you have a 4-function calculator next to you. And so we're in the test prep, and I'm sitting next to this girl that I've never met before in my life, and she's already taken the test, I forget, 2 or 3 times and failed. And the teacher puts an example on the board and says, okay, if there's or an example question. The question says, how many square feet are in 2.5 acres? And you have the calculator right there. And I just happened to look over at her, and her, you can see the gears seizing up in her brain, and she can't figure it out. And, just basic arithmetic math. But at the end of the day, she passed, and she's out there licensed to, help somebody make one of the largest financial decisions of their life. And so I think there's a lot of different things we could do to improve the professionalism of the industry. I think one of the simplest things is that it's kind of the 90-10 rule or the 80-20 rule. There's 90% of the business right now in real estate is being done by 10% of the realtors. And if you just, tripled the dues for SABOR and cut half the population out that aren't doing any transactions, that don't know what they're doing, I'd be happy to do that. I think that would greatly improve our industry.
Well, SABOR, they're in the business of training, right?
Yes.
Okay, so lower barrier of entry means more people wanting to be trained, right?
Correct.
And just kicking those dues over. So, I would say I was a detective for a few years here in San Antonio, but I don't think I needed detective school to figure that one out.
Right. It's trying to put the incentives in the right places is a tough puzzle to this thing. One of the things that I was always shocked when I was taking my classes at a different real estate school, every morning when I walked in, the teacher would put up some big $5-8 million listing on the board and say, "Oh my God, look at how much money you could make if you sold this property." It's like, that's a once in a lifetime property. Nobody's going to sell that. But they just, the allure is there. And so even just having a basic, education requirement of like, hey, you got to have either college degree or, X amount of business experience to get a real estate.
You know what? We should also have a license to have children, and we don't have that. And you look at any industry. I'm sure CPA is the same way. In my industry, in marketing and advertising, we have people that own ad agencies that are building templated websites that a consumer could build themselves, and they're selling them for $3,000 to $5,000. And all they're doing is getting on a template and selling them that. It's ineffective, doesn't drive any traffic to the website, doesn't convert leads into clients. But, is it one of those things where you give some of these people a pass because maybe over time they're going to learn it now that they're in the battlefield? So they get their license and they suck for a few years and they learn some, harsh, expensive lessons, sometimes at the cost of, their clients. But then they get good because they weren't great when they started, but eventually, you say you have to start somewhere to be great. But I agree with you. I mean, the barriers to entry, I think, are too low for a lot of industries.
Right.
Right.
Well, it's kind of like a lotto ticket. I mean, low barrier to entry, high potential reward.
Yeah.
Right.
The lottery is a tax for people who are bad at math.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, come on now.
Yeah. And of lower income. It's a tax on people who are of lower income because they're looking for that grand slam home run.
Right.
Well, I have heard that small percentage of the realtors do the majority of the business, but I think you'll find that across a lot of industries. I want to get back a little bit to the CPA thing in oil and gas. And did you make contacts while you were a CPA that you're leveraging to get into your real estate business or following up with, or no?
Not particularly, because I was in Houston.
Okay.
Mainly. And, going to the luxurious cities of Midland and,
Gotcha.
South Dakota and all these.
Gotcha. Your realtor license, is it good for only Texas?
Correct.
Okay, got it.
What do you
Right.
focus on in real estate? Is it commercial, residential, investment? What's your focus?
I mean, mainly residential. I have some ranch listings. My big project right now is the Victoria Commons townhomes in Lavaca that are coming up, and that have some really interesting characteristics and especially the location.
We'll talk about that a little bit.
So the supposed, I mean, no one knows for sure yet, but the supposed new Spurs arena is going to go into the or take the place of the Texas Institute of Culture. Again, just across the street from the Alamo Dome. And my new townhome development is 3 blocks from that location. and we just broke ground on it 2 weeks ago. And so there are the location is just prime for anybody looking to live in downtown or have a rental right near, the heart of everything.
Is there going to be shopping and cool stuff there, other business stuff?
Oh, yeah.
What's going to make that area, other than you've got the Dome and the new Spurs place,
Right.
but that can be a negative too with the large amount of crowds that are coming in.
Yeah,
What's the attractive side?
Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of walking. There's parks next door. It's the whole Victoria Commons is a master plan community that's going to have all sorts of multifamily retail. There's going to be a trail that connects to Southtown, all sorts of different things. And there's bars and stuff you can walk to in the area. I mean, it's just a very kind of the cool, hip, trendy part of town.
So it's on the as you're heading right. I guess it would be the west side of the highway, either direction. But
Correct.
as you're heading towards downtown from the north side, it's on the right.
Yeah, if you're heading south on 281, it's on the right. Yeah,
So opposite side of 281 from the Alamo Dome.
correct.
Yeah, great area. Because on the same side of the Alamo Dome, heading east, they've talked about developing that for a long time, but it's not there yet.
Right. And so one of the interesting things that I think is brilliant with some of the townhomes that we're having is that in San Antonio, if you want to Airbnb a house, San Antonio only allows for 12.5% of a block face to be an Airbnb property because they don't want an entire block being an Airbnb. However, if you own or occupy a home and you want to Airbnb a bedroom or a casita or part of your owner occupancy house, that effectively is unlimited. Anybody can do that. And so some of the townhomes that we're building are a 3-story townhome, but the first floor is a 1-1 efficiency.
Slick.
So you can live upstairs in the top 2 floors and then have an Airbnb in just one of the most prime parts of San Antonio.
That's smart.
And then offset, a significant portion of your mortgage.
Oh, might sell a lot of these to investors.
Yeah, I think they're going to be a killer property.
What are they going to retail for, more or less?
600 to 800,000, depending upon size and finish
and
out and
living
stuff.
downtown is great. I mean, I love the resurgence of our downtown.
Right.
And I love what the Alamo's been doing and all the expansion and that kind of gallery in the back of the Alamos.
Yeah, I mean, I still think the downtown development is still kind of in its infancy. I mean, with Lone Star coming on and everything, I mean, downtown I think is just going to be a killer place to live for a long time.
So you mentioned Airbnb. What's happening in the Airbnb market right now?
I mean, for the most part, they're getting slaughtered.
I was going to say I've heard bad things.
Yeah, I mean I've seen numbers between 30 and 40% decline in revenue across San Antonio.
Why?
For a number of reasons. One, the renters are getting fed up with having a $150 night room rate and staying for 2 nights and then having a $500 cleaning bill when they could go just stay in a hotel and pay $150 a night and then not have to worry about a cleaning bill.
Right. I didn't know about cleaning bills.
Well, there's always been a cleaning bill, but it's been going up because labor rates go up, and then it's another way to make some extra money. So you have a lower night stay, but then they hit you on the back end.
Right.
So shady.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's plenty of examples that people just post and whatnot where the cleaning bill, the hotel fees and taxes and everything are more than what they actually paid for the room.
Yep.
And so
I had that in Fredericksburg just a couple of months ago. I was like, what?
Yeah, no.
It was crazy.
What's that old phrase? Homie, don't play that. I mean, I
Right.
got no interest in that.
So what's the value proposition? Just go get a room in a hotel.
That's right.
And stay at a hotel. But so the problem is that's putting a big squeeze on Airbnbs in the lesser desirable areas where previously they might have been making money. They're no longer making money. Airbnbs in kind of the more desirable areas, downtown, the Pearl, Alamo Heights. Those are still
they're booked all the time.
Yeah, those are fine.
Yeah, but you see now there are people who used to have long-term rentals, little houses or duplexes or triplexes, convert a lot of them over the past few years to Airbnbs. Now they're being converted back into long-term rentals because long-term rental rates have gone up.
Right.
So renting a house now is more expensive than it was, pre-pandemic.
Right. Well, and for the most part, across the board, it's becoming more affordable to rent a house versus buy a house right now with rates the way they are.
That's another thing I've noticed. I've seen new construction of higher end townhomes that are 5, 6, 700,000 that are not selling, that are being rented for $3,000 a month.
Right. Well, and that's why you've also seen the surge of what's called BTR, of build to rent, and so they're building master plan communities of single family homes, but they're all for rent because the financials just work better to rent for now.
So let's say somebody wants to come and buy a house and they come and talk to you. Do you ever recommend, hey, listen, why don't you just rent? Because I know that you're not going to get the value of the long-term ownership, but if you have to buy a place, interest rates are high, your property taxes kind of went way up, and now you're going to pay $17,000 in property tax or $15,000 or whatever, and you can rent a place for $3,000. Doesn't it make more sense sometimes to rent? And do you ever recommend that?
Oh, absolutely. It obviously it's a case by case basis. What's your timeline? Oh, hey, I'm a military guy. I'm just going to be here for 2 years. Okay, well then we need to be looking at rental options. But I don't see that there's going to be a big pullback in value in the real estate market in San Antonio anytime soon. And there's a couple of reasons for that. But one mainly is that it's still, especially in San Antonio, it's still very affordable compared to the rest of Texas. And right now we're sitting at 7.5% interest rates, and there are a ton of people sitting on the sidelines that are just saying, look, I don't want to, or I can't afford 7%, but hey, I can get on board with like 6%. Mm-hmm. And so and I'm not the first person to say this, but I think if we see a pullback in rates to like the mid to low sixes, I think prices are going to actually go back up or go up even more, because more people are going to come off the sidelines. More people are going to come out of the woodwork.
Are these big corporations, like Wall Street firms, still buying houses? I know that was a big thing.
Not as much. Okay. Not as much. But I mean, yeah. I mean,
they were like residential
BlackRock,
REITs, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. BlackRock and a bunch of people were buying massive properties, and they were actually one of the interesting things I found out about this back in the good old days of COVID, is they were buying 40, 50 homes at a time, 100 homes from Opendoor, and they would just lock up these large swaths and do one big 100 unit transaction with Opendoor, and they bought tons of homes, and now you're starting to see some of them actually come back on the market that were purchased in the pandemic, because I'll see who the seller is and what LLC and whatnot, but for the most part they're still being held on to, at least around here.
I'm kind of interested. You got a detailed knowledge on property position of San Antonio. You've been very successful. What does the future look like for Aden? 5 years, 10 years time?
Oh gosh, I mean,
where do you want to be? I mean, you're obviously working with Phyllis Browning. It's been very good for you.
He's going to buy that $3 million house that his teacher at the real estate school showed him.
Right.
And retire early.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to go anywhere. I love Phyllis Browning. I think the future is bright for San Antonio. There's going to be a lot of growth, continued growth. I continue to buy property here. I continue to buy rentals. Hopefully I'll get another 2 this year. I bought 2 last year. Hopefully I can get another 2 this year. And so I think eventually trying to grow more of more passive income, so that I don't have to work quite as hard as much as I do right now, although I do love what I do. But I don't think I'm ever going to get out of real estate or kind of slow down too much.
That's one of the nice things that you've just said there is I love what I do.
That's right.
And there's so many people who are in a job that they don't really love.
I never would have said that as a CPA.
Want to say, get out.
Yeah.
But doing the CPA has grounded you, has given you a skill set that sets you apart from other people in your profession now. It's no coincidence that a lot of CFOs, FDs go on to become CEOs of businesses because they understand the numbers, they understand the inner workings of business. So, I know you kind of look back and go, kind of wish I hadn't done audit and that kind of stuff, but actually it has given you a really good basis and a springboard.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't I don't think getting my CPA and getting my license going through the audit route was a bad thing. I think I would have, if I could have done it over again, I would have gone into real estate or sales much earlier in my life. It's a scary thing. Giving up that paycheck for 100% commission is a scary proposition.
Yeah, but being scared is just a fuel for excitement, right? I mean,
Some people thrive on it.
Yeah, they do. CPA, I see as introverted. Realtor, in order to be successful, you got to be extroverted. Where do you fall in that?
Oh, I'm much more of an extra. I mean, that's the thing. I was a fish out of water, and as a CPA, I was a weird guy. No, I mean, people.
The outlier.
Yeah,
you didn't have the Oldsmobile with the velour interior.
No,
and the pocket protector with all the pins.
No, it was. Yeah, I was an odd duck, to say the least, and I don't think. I mean, I can't imagine that one of my previous partners would see this, but I mean, they'll tell you I was. I mean, I had really good relationships, and I built good relationships with my clients, but I was just, not the quintessential just stuff them in a closet and
stereotypical CPA.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I've never been a stereotypical accountant.
Right.
What your clients, of the clients that you coach, do you see that? What percentage would you say love what they do for a living? Because I mean, I have 450 active clients, and I could tell you probably 75% of them don't love what they're doing. They like making money, and they have a business, but they don't love what they do.
Yeah, I see a disconnect with that too. It's like you make a life, right? I mean, you got to make a living, right? But I mean, that's 40 hours if you can do it right. And you get something that actually pays well. I mean, you can spend the rest of your time doing what you really enjoy. I don't know.
Probably 50-50 with clients. For me personally, I love what I do. Genuinely just love what I do. I mean, it's just, and to do it here in San Antonio and here in Texas, it's just an absolute joy.
Yeah, you've really taken to Texas, dude.
But I'm not a CPA. I'm not doing the whole taxes type thing. I've done audit and stuff in the back in the past. But I love what I do. When you're helping business owners, just like you, Howie, when you're doing website, when you're doing social media stuff with your clients, and they get it and they see their businesses growing from it, that probably gives you a buzz. When I see my clients maturing, growing, that gives me a buzz. And not being funny, working with Mark, just seeing the changes in him, Jennifer, and the business over the last few months, that just fills me with joy, I love it.
The same with me. I mean, working with a client who's got a new VA and it's their first one, maybe first employee, and they're figuring out how to do this kind of stuff, that's joyful for me as well. But I'm curious, Aden, how are you growing your business? Because this doesn't sound like you're networking a lot. Is it a lot of referral-based business? Where does that extrovert come out and actually?
Yeah, right now it's primarily referrals. I mean, I got a call literally last night at 7:20 from a previous client who was having dinner with a friend, and they wanted to go see a house, and I showed them that house at 8:15 last night, and we're going to be writing an offer on it today.
I love that, man.
Do you leave dinners and other commitments to go show a house?
Yeah, I mean, that's what you got to do. I mean,
I've been self-unemployed for 30 years, and my family makes fun of me because I'd be at Disney World and I'm like, oh, hold on one second. Like, what? You can't even enjoy your own life. I go, I enjoy it. You know why? Because I love working.
Right.
And I tell my kids, I go, look, don't work against me. You like Mickey? Yeah. You want to see him more often? Yeah. Okay, Dad has to take this call.
Right.
Right. Very good.
Dadpreneur right there.
Yeah.
Well, one of my problems that I don't think I'm ever going to overcome is, look, I love what I do and I want to keep on doing it, but I would also like to take some vacation now and then. And so, okay, fine. I'm happy to go pay for a vacation and go on vacation, but then also I'm not working while I'm on vacation. So I'm not making money while I'm on vacation.
Yeah, you're not filling that pipeline either.
Right. So it's, going on vacation is doubly expenses unless I'm working while I'm on
the
vacation.
Opportunity cost, right? CPAs?
Exactly. So, it's...
What's vacation?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. You do have to kind of balance in there, but, I like achievement. I'm very achievement oriented, right? So vacations can be tough because you're not filling that pipeline. You know what I mean?
Right.
Well, you know what? You said the word balance, and I know that it's talked about, but it's elusive. I don't really think there is such a thing as a work-life balance.
I think that's bullshit. Actually.
I think it could happen and it feels good, right? And then Tuesday hits, and then you're like, oh shit, what happened to my balance from yesterday? And it's gone. You know what I mean? But I don't think it's necessarily even about balance. It's about loving what you do, making an impact for your clients, getting the kudos and people calling you like, hey, you know what? You really helped me. I didn't even know about it. You told me about it. We implemented. Now we're profitable. So thank you so much. And then that happens and you get addicted to that success. And you kind of alluded to this, but the way I say it is you judge a tree by the fruit it bears. If you go buy a tree at Home Depot and a year later it's gigantic and symmetrical and beautiful, but it has no figs, and you bought it as a fig tree and it was supposed to produce fruit, and you go back and the salesman tells you like, yeah, but look how nice it is. You want to buy a swing for it? Like, no, I wanted figs. You have to judge a tree by the fruit it bears. So if you're supposed to sell houses, you got to judge Aden by the number of houses he sells and this and things like that. Not he's such a nice guy. He's so well groomed. I love his jacket.
Right.
He leaves dinners to come and show us houses. You're not selling anything. And I think that's where most, you didn't want to say it, but I think that's where most agents are, most real estate agents are. There might be 12, 15, 18,000 of them. And I would say 80% of them are out of business. They just don't know it yet.
From the get-go.
Right.
You know, no one ever hammers new agents over the head and says, you need to be prepared not to make money for 6 to 12 months. I mean, I forget what the statistic I last saw was, but like the average new realtor doesn't close one deal in 6 months.
Unacceptable, in my opinion. That would drive me nuts.
That is a long grind right there for a dollar.
What would they have done to you as a cop if you didn't pull anybody over in the first 6 months?
Yeah, they would have. Or you're not making calls, right?
Or you're not
we did have some of those. I've dealt with people like that when I was a sergeant. It was like, dude, this is not for you, man. You can't be hiding off in the corner somewhere,
right?
You know, on a traffic stop that you're not on. You know what I mean? Stuff like that.
You made an interesting point there about maybe the number of realtors who, they failed but don't realize it. I wonder the number of small business owners where their business is failing and
that's true
and they
too.
haven't realized it either.
That's true too. I get to look at people's numbers because sometimes they come to me and they want that silver bullet. They want, is it, do I boost my social media post? Do I do an email blast? Do I do pay-per-click? Because we're dying over here. We haven't made a profit in 3 years, and I'm 4 months behind on my rent. I'm like, well, hold on, too much information. Hold on 1 second. I go, there's no silver bullet. There's a bunch of golden BBs, but no silver bullet. So I said, this is a long-term game. This is what no. But they're not doing the right thing. But at best, they had bought themselves a job where they're making $30,000 or $40,000 a year. At worst, because of their ego, they're putting money into a business that they're losing money in, and they sustain it so that they can continue to claim that they're a business owner.
This comes back around to, I think, one of your unique abilities in the CPA background that you have is that you're going to pay attention to the numbers, right? That's
always.
So when it comes to market analysis, how do you approach that maybe differently than another realtor would?
Oh my goodness, I have just a massive spreadsheet where I track every facet of my business. I used to, back when I was paying for leads on Zillow and stuff like that, I knew exactly what my conversion ratio was. I had one of the highest conversion rate. I was converting over 20% of my Zillow leads. Again, partly because of my just relentless follow-up with these people. And the national average for online leads is around 2%. So, I was just crushing it. Yeah, I was crushing it. And I have an entire spreadsheet of every transaction I've ever done with zip codes, so I can drill down. Okay, what zip codes am I doing the most deals in? What's my average dollar and all these things?
Well, let's look at that from a prospective client's position, right? So if I'm going to hire you as a realtor, and what are you bringing to the table numbers-wise, like in a CMA? What's the advantage?
CMAs are really, in my mind, more of a work of art than necessarily a scientific product. But there's totally different factors that you need to look at. There's all sorts of different factors when you look at making a CMA and doing it properly. You can, the basics, let's look at like the size of the home and all these things. But like, hey, is one house on a green belt? Is this in a different neighborhood? Is that neighborhood next door a different, quality? And so having just somebody that knows a lot about the area is very important.
Right, because don't agents kind of estimate? They'll walk in, they take a look, and they're like, "Oh, I think I could list this house for $587,000."
Right.
And the owner's like, "Are you crazy?" They're like, "The one next door just sold for $850, and it's smaller than mine."
Right.
Yeah. So they're not
right, and then
unprepared.
and exactly, and they don't, or they'll just like, oh, they go off the county
Well, what would
appraisal
you like to
value
sell
or-
it for?
Right. They'll go off the county appraisal value or the Zillow Zestimate value. There's properly pricing a house is a very complicated, very important aspect of selling a house.
Do you do that for the buyer as well?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Because that's ammunition, right? Because if
Totally.
they can go sit down and say, okay, well, these are all the reasons why you're asking too much.
Plus, if you advise a buyer properly and they don't get the house and somebody else buys it for $100,000 more, you did them a favor. They might be mad, but you say that house isn't worth it. Let me tell you why, because your $550 could go a lot further.
Right.
So don't fall in love with something until you get it and make sure it's the right deal at a
Right.
good value. Correct?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, I tell clients all the time not to buy a house. I mean, way more often I tell them not to buy a house than to buy a house. For due to the condition, the pricing, whatever the case may be. But again, that goes back to kind of what I said at the beginning. If you take care of your clients, you're going to get taken care of.
How do you view home inspections when
I was gonna ask
when they
that
dig
too.
up dirt, so to speak? Right? I mean, it's like if you got issues. See, I look at every problem as an opportunity. Right? Unless it's my wife trying to give me a to-do list. Other than that,
Right.
it's like I'm looking at it as an opportunity, right? So a bad home inspection report could be an opportunity. How would you do that?
It's case by case basis.
Sure.
Sometimes it's an opportunity to negotiate on the house. Sometimes you've already beaten up the price so much, you've already gotten whatever 15% off the price already. There's no more juice to squeeze out of that fruit.
But there's the furniture.
Yeah, exactly. It depends upon the severity of the deal, of the issue, and things of that nature. I've had a ton of times where the roof is in terrible shape, but we have the seller file a roof claim, and we get a new roof, and everyone's happy. It's a win-win for everybody.
It's a glass half full approach to it, right?
Right. But there's always, that time when you do an inspection and, you find termites or, whatever.
Foundation problem.
Yeah, whatever the case may be. I mean, I'll never forget, I had one deal where they found a special kind of termite that is only typically found on the coast. And in order to get rid of this termite, you actually have to tent the house, which none of the bug companies around here tent houses because that's something you almost exclusively have to do on the coast. So we had to find a bug company in Corpus to drive up here with a tent to tent this huge house. And I mean, it is wild.
Yeah, but that's all awesome because now you've done that.
Right.
It's like, I love every aspect of that. It's
Yeah.
like, all right, cool. There's a big problem we get to solve.
Right. Exactly.
And I'm going to make you some more money.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a lot of people, they do a lot of works to their house before sale, cosmetic-y stuff and some other things. Maybe houses they put solar panels in and think it's all going to be really good for the house. What's your view?
I cannot say this enough. I do not like solar panels. I would not advise you to get solar panels.
On the house.
I would not advise you to get solar panels at all.
Really? Why?
They are a horrible, horrible, horrible financial investment.
Okay, tell me why. You can't leave us hanging.
The break even on solar panels is about 18 to 20 years.
Oh, doesn't sound good.
No, and I have companies, they're clients of mine that do power washing and special cleaning, and you have to clean solar panels. And then I have clients that are roofers, and then they tell me that sometimes voids the warranty on the roofs. And then if they have to do a roof repair, and then the insurance doesn't want to pay for certain things because the solar panels were on top of it.
They are the only time it is in my mind, somewhat advisable to buy a house with solar panels is if you're getting them free and clear and the seller paid for the panels. But you got to make sure, among other things, that your insurance has a rider to remove and reset the panels. Because if you, like you were saying, Howie, if a hailstorm comes through, messes your roof up, that's all fine and dandy. The insurance will pay for your new roof. But if you don't have the rider, it costs somewhere between like $5,000 and $10,000 just to pull your panels off and then reset them after the roof has been installed.
See, anytime the government gets involved in stuff, they screw it all up. So all these incentive programs, you know what I mean?
Welcome to Let's Talk Conspiracy.
Yeah.
Your radio show.
No,
seriously, it's
solar
like-
panels are a nightmare, and I just they are a horrible investment.
Then why were they so incentivized?
Because people like to be patted on the butt and told they're doing something good
No, but that
For the
doesn't...
for the environment.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, for the environment. Yeah,
Yeah.
but no, but there's something else there. There always has.
well,
There's
sales-
money in it for somebody.
I mean, the salesmen are making killing.
Yeah. Yeah, but off the backs of grants and you know,
Yeah.
incentives and all this other stuff that's going on. It's all shady.
Yeah,
That's what I think.
yeah. No,
You heard it here.
We're gonna this is Joe Rogan podcast part 2, right? We're gonna talk
Love
conspiracy
it.
theories.
Love it.
That'll just be our show. We'll just
Right.
do that. You
I like
what mean? These guys are drinking the Kool-Aid.
No.
Right.
We'll make our own Kool-Aid over here.
Hey, well, it depends. If we have clients in that industry, we're going to defend it, right, Mark? I mean, right, Kyan? We don't know about Mark. Mark, you're going to hammer everybody. But Kyan and I, we're going to defend our clients and defend the
Yeah.
industry.
No, I do the same thing.
No, but I agree with you on that. I agree. Like I told that to people on cars, on buying new cars. Never a good deal. I've owned a little over 100 cars, and I've sold more than 1,000 cars. I used to do it as a hobby business, and there's no scenario that I've run across where it's worth buying a new car, unless you get an exclusive on some Ferrari thing that's going to go up. Other than that, buy used. So, and I like I just stole your saying, by the way. It's going to be my quote this Friday. Problems create opportunities. So I buy cars for half of Blue Book when they're trashed. Electronic suspension all messed up. The dealer wants $12,000 to fix it. I get the parts. I get my mechanic on Bassey Road to do it for $2,200. I'm good to go.
Yeah.
Love it.
So have y'all? So one of the kind of the big things that a lot of people are trying to get into right now in real estate is called subject to financing. Have y'all heard of that?
I have not.
Yeah.
So you and your wife, let's say, Mark, you and your wife bought a house, typically in like a new build community on, let's say, the west side, or up the I-35 corridor or whatever, for $350,000 in 2020, 2021, and you got a smoking 2.75% interest rate. But now, for whatever reason, you need to leave. You got to move, and that's all fine and dandy, but the builder is still building in your neighborhood. And let's say now that your house or your floor plan is now a $400,000 house. But because the builder is offering so many incentives and everything like that with rate buy downs and blah, 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 it's actually more advantageous or easier for a buyer to buy the new build at $400,000 than your used house for $350,000 or $360,000, whatever the case may be. So you're in a pickle because you got no equity or very little. And especially with title policy and commissions and everything else, I mean, you're going to have to come to the table with a lot of money to sell your house. And so what people are doing is they're approaching you and they're saying, look, I'll give you $15,000 and the deed transfers into my LLC, but you, Mark, keep the mortgage in your name.
Ah, nice.
And so then you give me your login credentials to your mortgage. I hook up my bank account to it. So I make sure that the mortgage is getting paid, and then you go away. And then I rent out the house.
Doesn't that trigger something with the
So
home?
all mortgages have a due on sale clause. So, but if the mortgage is getting paid, is the bank really going to, the bank's not going to want to foreclose.
It's not illegal.
It's not illegal. No, it's not. It's definitely not illegal. It's shady.
Shady.
It's a little dicey.
And it's booming.
Oh, it's booming. I mean, people are
Big
doing
time.
this everywhere right now. That is a big
Because
thing.
you assume somebody's lower interest rate.
Right.
And
It's, for $10,000 you can buy a $300,000 house.
you still stay on as the second mortgage? I mean, the second lien holder. So the bank's the first, you're the second.
No,
Oh,
there's
really?
no second lien holder position. And so, but at closing, typically the seller signs a power of attorney to the buyer to then do business and endorse checks or any insurance checks or something like that. So if the house burns down, the insurance check comes to the new owner. He endorses Mark on the back of it, and then he gets the insurance check.
I think the big winners on that are going to be the attorneys. You know,
Yeah.
it's just because something bad's going to happen along those ways, and then people are going to get upset, and the attorneys are going to make out
Or somebody will find a way to scam the system. And then,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
always.
going to be its own bubble, right? And it'll pop and it'll do whatever.
I don't know if you're getting ready to ask.
Yeah.
And how, okay.
We're going to wrap up.
So, real quick, should people get title insurance, not title insurance, that title lock or whatever it is, where people, they advertise on TV, don't let somebody take the title of your house and put it into their name, pay us this fee to.
I'll be honest.
I've never heard of that happening.
I've heard of what you're talking about. I've never heard of it actually happening, and I
Got
don't
it.
know what it would do to.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, Aiden, great job on your first podcast. What did you think? It
I don't
went
know,
by fast?
I feel like I was like super disjointed and like.
No.
No, it's
Yeah.
good.
Well,
Oh,
watch
okay.
it back.
Enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you did great.
All right.
So, yeah, you're just self-conscious, right?
Yeah, I was like,
No, it was smooth. It was smooth. We would tell you. We're brutally honest.
Okay.
We would tell you.
We'll just, after
If it
the show,
wasn't
we'll
good.
tell you. But
all right.
All right, Aiden, if folks want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
You can, my phone number, do I say it like
Yeah,
I mean,
whatever.
phone number's 210-867-2564 or 210-TOP-CLOG. And Instagram is Realtor with Styles, Stiles.
Thanks, Aiden. Great job. All right, as we wrap up the show, quick reminder, check out our podcast on all the major podcast platforms and on social media, of course. You can get to everything easily by visiting our website, satalkradio.com. That's going to be it for this
Perfect.
one. You guys did a great job. Thank you very much.
All right.
Superb.
Thank you.
Thank you.